Hello folks and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about the 5 things that I wish more people knew before they decided to become a body piercer. I have talked about it time and time again here on YouTube, on my blog, on TikTok, getting into the industry, getting an apprenticeship. I have a whole playlist dedicated to it here. I have a bunch of blog posts, but I wanted today sit down and kind of chat about something that I don't talk about as often, and that is some of the reality of being a body piercer that I wish more people knew before they pursued an apprenticeship or before they got into the industry. These are in no particular order, but they're just all really important things that I wish more people were aware of. The first is that this is a very physically demanding job, and in ways that people often don't expect it to be. Obviously, there's the part where we're kind of like on our feet all day. We're running around between the lobby and the piercing room, doing piercings, things like that. But there's also some like unexpected physical side effects that come along with piercing. A really big one is like hand and forearm strain. I know a lot of piercers who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are dealing with really bad issues in their joints and in their hands from a lifetime of piercing. And we are starting as an industry to move towards looking at how we can take care of our bodies and what techniques we can practice that are healthier for us. But we were not doing this for a very long time, and a lot of people never get taught this or explained this in their apprenticeship. But piercing, holding and working with all of these small objects all day, the way we're often like hunched over clients' bodies, like getting into position to do certain piercings or install certain pieces of jewelry, this is very exhausting on your body. The eye strain that comes from looking at teeny tiny pieces of jewelry all day, it's a lot. I fully wish that much earlier in my career I had realized that consistently working out, like keeping my body healthy, stretching before a shift, taking care of my eyes, taking care of my joints were all going to be such important elements to doing this job and doing this job well. And I often see a lot of new apprentices and young piercers who do not realize how much they need to take care of their body. And yes, they're fine doing what they're doing right now at like 20, 21, 22, but we are coming up on my 30th birthday, and I am here to tell you that that is not going to last forever, and that we should treat this as a physically strenuous job and make accommodations that come along with that to protect our bodies, to keep our bodies healthy and safe so that we can keep piercing for a very long time. Now, the second thing is something that I talk about all the time, so no one should be surprised to see it mentioned in this video, and that is that you never deserve to be exploited getting into this industry. I have whole videos here on my channel about the fact that in America, it's not legal to not pay an apprentice. Like, you have to be paying your apprentice at least minimum wage for your area, but it goes a little bit further than that. There's a huge issue with exploitation in the body piercing industry, from studio owners trying to make piercers and apprentices sign illegal non-compete clauses and non-compete contracts, to employers forcing people to be taxed as an independent contractor but do the work and labor at the studio of an employee. Huge issues with piercers being asked to take on managerial tasks at studios without being given managerial levels of pay. And this has been a consistent issue in this industry as long as I've been in it. And unfortunately, it's going to continue to be an issue unless we educate ourselves and we stand up to businesses that continue these unethical practices. But if you are looking to get into this industry, you do not deserve to be exploited. You should not be forced to work unpaid. You should not be forced to be harassed or hazed at work. That includes anything from like being forced to come into work in uncomfortable or revealing outfits, being forced to like clean up after intentional messes that your coworkers made, being called names, being belittled, all the way up to just doing stuff that's completely outside of your job description. If it's not a part of your job and what you're getting paid for to go get everyone coffee or get everyone lunch or do your boss's laundry, you should not be having to do those things. Exploitation also exists for young piercers as well. For example, if your boss is taxing you as an independent contractor, but making you do the job of an employee, giving you set hours you have to be in the studio, a bunch of set tasks that you have to do, that is also a form of exploitation. And if you are working for a business like an employee, you should be paid and taxed as an employee of that business. I would encourage anyone who's interested in getting into tattoo and piercing to research local labor laws, research local tax laws, and figure out what is and isn't legal in your area, and make sure that you are not being exploited where you're working. If you think that you might be, there are a lot of piercers like myself and others whose inboxes are always open and who are really happy to help you figure out if what's going on is legal or right, and try and help you or give you advice if you are in a situation where things are not being done correctly. That kind of leads to a good segue to my next thing that I wish people knew before getting into the industry, which is that it is very, very hard to find a work-life balance and set healthy boundaries in this industry. And the sooner you are aware of that and the sooner you start practicing trying to find that balance and set those boundaries, the better it is going to be for you. But basically, every single piercer I know in this industry has at one point or another, if not currently, struggled with feeling like they are on and working as a piercer 24/7. Not only are they in the studios on their days piercing and working, but when they're not at the studio, they're answering messages, they're answering emails, they're posting on Instagram, they're posting on TikTok, they're helping clients with problems. Like, it is very hard to not be a piercer 24/7. And this is still something that I struggle with. I have spent the last 2 years while I've been on my hiatus and while I've been traveling, trying to learn to separate myself from the phone and realize that it's not an emergency if I don't answer someone's question on how much it costs to get their nose pierced at 2 a.m, that I can answer that message during my work hours. And it's been very hard for me to find a healthy balance of boundaries. And I think as piercers, it's because we do care. We care about our clients so much. We want to be so present for our client. If someone has an emergency or something goes wrong with their piercing, we want to be there to help them. We want to make sure our clients have the best experience possible. But listen, no one is dying if they don't get the price of a BVLA end within an hour of when they messaged you, okay? The earth is not going to stop because you didn't send someone your appointment booking link while you were out to dinner with your mom. It's okay to live your life and do what you want to do. And you know what? We schedule doctor's appointments and have communications with literal life-saving medical professionals all the time. And we do it when they're in the office during their office hours. No one bats an eye when you call your doctor's office while they're closed and you have to wait until they're open again to get a response. It's the same thing for piercers. We do not have to be booking clients in and answering pricing questions at 4 a.m. And it comes from such a place of compassion and care for clients, for the business, for wanting to make money, but it really is extremely unhealthy and extremely detrimental to your mental health. It will cause you to burn out. It's, I would say, arguably amongst one of the major reasons why we see piercers burn out and leave the industry entirely. Before you get into this industry, you have to be comfortable setting boundaries between work and life, and you have to be conscious and cognizant of those boundaries and work to maintain them throughout your entire time in this industry. And I promise you, it will be so much better for your career if you can learn to maintain a healthy work-life separation. It's super important and very hard to come by in this industry. The fourth thing I wish folks know is that I would consider one of the most important traits for any piercer before cleanliness, before sterility, before safety, before education, before technical knowledge, before any of that, to be empathy. I think empathy is one of the absolute most important skills we can possess as a piercer. And that is because in everything that we do, in every aspect or element of our job, it should be about the client. The client is who should always come first, no matter what. In holding space for that and making sure we're really showing up for our clients and really being empathetic to our clients is where we find the right motivations to do everything else, to be the safest, cleanest piercer, because our clients deserve a safe, clean service. To be very technically skilled and to always be brushing up on continuing education, because our clients deserve a piercer that's going to do a technically sound job. But also to just be empathetic to the vulnerability that comes along with getting a piercing. I see hundreds of clients a month who tell me about really terrible experiences they've had with other piercers who just clearly didn't care about them, didn't have any respect for their body or any empathy for what they were going through. Piercers who made fun of clients for being scared or nervous, or made clients feel bad or belittled for being nervous to get pierced. Piercers who did obviously bad or incorrect work and refused to own up to it, refused to correct that they had made a mistake. And also just piercers who just clearly didn't care, who were just there to do the piercing and send the client out the door. And listen, I said you need healthy work-life boundaries, but that does not mean just viewing your client as a bunch of dollar signs. And I think all of that really boils down to having empathy for your client, being able to relate to and understand the complex feelings that you go through in getting a piercing and being vulnerable to a stranger and enduring something that's painful and uncomfortable. But empathy is also the hardest skill to teach. I feel confident that I could teach just about anyone to hold a needle and do a straight piercing, but I cannot teach you how to have that empathy that allows you to create connections with clients, to really truly feel what they're feeling and hold space for their entire experience, to guide them through this thing that is oftentimes scary and intimidating and painful, and make sure that they get through it successfully and healthily. That empathy is something that just some folks have and some folks don't, but it's so important for the type of work that we do because we are working on people's bodies in such a vulnerable situation that we have to, above all else, be empathetic to our client and really putting our client first in everything that we do. And as a piercer, I think a lot of us start out with that mentality, but somewhere along the lines in this career, it becomes really easy to lose that. And instead, especially as apprentices, you get super focused on what's the next piercing that I'm learning? How did that piercing turn out? Was it straight? Was it placed well? Did my transfer go smooth? And all of those things are important. All of those things are things that we as piercers need, but you can't forget about the client in all of that. And a lot of folks very easily do, and it becomes about their experience as a piercer, their technical skill, and the work that they're doing. And it shouldn't be. It should always be clients' bodies come first. 100% of the time. And the fifth and final thing that I wish most folks knew about getting into the piercing industry and doing piercing is that in the vast majority of studio situations, doing the piercing is the smallest part of your job. Be in the room with a client, piercing them, having a good time, that's a very small slice of the pie of being a piercer. And the reality of being a piercer looks like a lot of cleaning, just so much cleaning. You have never swept or mopped or wiped down surfaces this much in your entire life. You are cleaning every day, all day. It does not end. It's an enormous amount of inventory. It's always looking at what jewelry you have in stock, counting tiny little barbells, organizing jewelry, processing new jewelry that's come in, processing repairs that have to get sent out. It's a lot of emails. It's a lot of emailing back and forth with jewelry manufacturers and supply companies and clients and coworkers and trying to plan and organize and sort things. It's a lot of answering questions on the phone and answering questions through emails and DMs. Depending on your studio setup, it's an enormous amount of scrubbing and reprocessing tools. If you work reprocessing, that is going to be a large part of your day, is just processing tools and cleaning them. It's just so much cleaning. And a lot of folks, I think, are under the impression that as a piercer, you're just going to spend all day long in your piercing room piercing clients. And That's part of the job, don't get me wrong, but that's not the bulk of the job. Like, if I add up how much time I've spent in my career and like broke it down by what I've done, I have definitely spent more time wiping down everything in a piercing room than I have actually piercing clients. I've definitely clocked more hours in cleaning than I have in actively piercing, and that's part of the job. Don't get me wrong, there's some studios where cleaning is a task divided amongst like everyone who works there. There's some amazing studios where front of house handle cleaning a lot of the public spaces of the lobby. Piercers are really only responsible for their space, but it is still a lot of work to keep your space very clean. You are wiping things down between every single client, sometimes multiple times depending on what you have to clean or what's going on. You're cleaning your room when you get in the morning and at the end of the day, and every single time you even think there might be the slightest chance that you need to clean something, you're cleaning it twice. And a lot of folks don't realize and don't expect this, and I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to someone who was excited about becoming a piercer and excited about apprenticing, and when I'm like, great, the first thing you're going to learn is how to wash your hands, and we are going to spend 2 weeks teaching you how to wash your hands, and I watch them go, hand washing? 2 weeks on hand washing? Boy, you better believe we are gonna be, it is all cleaning all the time. And I wish folks realize that as a piercer, you're gonna wear so many different hats. You're gonna be a piercer who pierces and works on clients, but you're also gonna be a janitor who cleans spaces. You're gonna be a surgical tech who deals with sterilization and sterilizer maintenance and properly making sure you're maintaining things. You're gonna be an inventory manager. You are gonna be an ace at pulling things up in the point of sale, unpackaging jewelry orders as they come in, putting them out and dividing them up where they may need to be, showcasing and placing everything in the cases and getting things designed. You are going to be a scheduling coordinator. You are going to get so good at figuring out booking and appointments, answering client questions, fielding phone calls with questions about appointments and pricing and things like that. There is so much more that goes into being a piercer than just doing the piercings, and a lot of that gets glossed over when people think about getting into this industry. And I just really wish more folks realized how much else goes into doing this job. All of that being said, I absolutely love piercing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I 150% know that this is my calling. This is what I am meant to do. This is what I am called to do. And I love it from the bottom of my heart. And hopefully in making videos like this for anyone else who is interested in getting into the industry or interested in being a piercer can kind of help shed some light on the realities of this job and the parts of it that are not always so glamorous. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm sure we'll sit down again and chat soon. Bye!